Chris here, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to this week's reading vlog. So it is actually October 2nd, and I'm just getting down to filming this because yesterday, instead of filming, I decided to tear my room apart. I completely demolished things. Like, there used to be a dresser there, and I've moved my clothes into the spare room because I have a hanging rack in there, and I kind of sorted through some stuff that I wanted to get rid of because I wasn't wearing them, and I had a bunch of clothes in this dresser that I was never using. So, yeah. It meant that I could take my bookshelves down because some of them were getting quite wobbly. Not like I'm worried they're going to fall down wobbly, but like concerned enough that if a cat hit it just right, they might collapse, which is dangerous because my cats can go nuts. So now I have the 4 bookshelves because I had 2 on each side of the dresser that I had. They're all on the floor now because I have the 3 there, and then I don't know if you're going to be able to tell. I have that one kind of sticking out as like a corner, which isn't necessarily the best setup, but is better than having them stacked and worrying that one of them might collapse. So that is what I did yesterday. I actually put the books back on the shelves today because I was that tired. Like, just getting my bed clear because a lot of the stuff went on my bed was insane last night. So there's no way I was filming this last night. I have read some. So I haven't picked up The Harbinger again, which was a book I was rolling over from September because I'm just not in the mood for it. So instead, I started with Positively Poisonous, which is a cozy mystery with a fantasy twist. And this, we're following a witch named Amber who has her own store, and she has like tinctures and remedies and stuff. And I guess she makes hot chocolate, and she makes mainly these little toys that she infuses with magic that allows them to like move around. So like a cat would meow or maybe lick its paws, but nobody in her town knows that she's a witch. So she has kind of managed to convince them that it's like this battery that eventually runs out that can't be replaced. And we get to see her at the shop, and her friend Mel ends up dead. And she is found with the bottle of one of the tinctures that Amber had given her in her hand at the time of her death. So she kind of becomes a suspect. And not only does she have to clear her name, but she also wants to find out what happened with her friend. I think I'm going 4.25 stars on this one. I thought this was very intriguing. I like the fact that this one was a little different, but to tell you how it's a little different might be a little spoilery. So if you don't want to hear that, skip ahead a few seconds. But the cop is married, so there's going to be no love triangle between her and the cop in town that's going to be investigating, I'm assuming, all of the dead bodies she's somehow going to get tangled up with. I like that she has some interesting magic and isn't necessarily well versed in it. I like the way the magic kind of works in this world, and I'm very intrigued to see what else we learn about the magic as the books go on. I thought the mystery was very interesting, and I couldn't figure out how my suspect did it, but the person that did it, I did suspect. So they managed to get me with like the reveal and how all the pieces came together, but I did suspect the person that did it. But that didn't take away from my enjoyment because the author did a really good job of making you suspect this person, at least in my case, and then laying it out to where you couldn't figure out how they could have possibly done it, so then you start to question whether they were actually the murderer or not. I hope that makes sense. I thought this was great, and I enjoyed it enough that I checked to see if book 2 was on Kindle Unlimited. It is not, but it's on sale for 99 cents, so I bought it. So I have already started book 2. I have no idea what the mystery is in this one. I didn't read the description or anything, and we haven't gotten to that part, but I really like the start of the series. I'm very intrigued with where it's going, and it is the exact kind of book I want to read right now. Then I started Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and I was so relaxed on my bed that I almost fell asleep. Had nothing to do with the book. I've only read the first chapter, so I had to put that down so that I could get up and move because I did not want to take a nap, even though I was quite cozy in my bed. I definitely think I might have overdid it a smidge yesterday. But last night before bed, before I dive back into Positively Poisonous, I read a few books. So the first one I read was volume 15 of Lumberjanes, and I think I'm going 4 stars on this one. This is a graphic novel series that follows a group of young girls who are at summer camp, and this camp has some interesting twists. I've really, really been enjoying the series, and I also managed to read volume 16. Volume 16 gets 4.5 stars and is one of my favorite volumes in the series. I don't know that it's my favorite, but it's definitely up there. Probably in the top 3. I've really enjoyed getting to see the journey the girls have gone on this summer and seeing all the new friends they've made, getting to know the supporting characters, because obviously they're at a summer camp and I'm now 16 volumes in. I know a lot of the other campers that have featured in multiple volumes, and I'm really, really enjoying my read of the series and hope to finish it this month because, well, volume 20 is on my TBR, so I really need to get a move on with that. And then I read Who Was P.T. Barnum, which means I finished my nonfiction at the beginning of the month. This wasn't exactly a hard read. It's a middle grade series, and it is definitely written for middle graders. You can tell that. I think I'm going 3.5 stars, mainly because it's written for middle graders, and you can tell that, and I would have liked some more, like, details. Something I could sink my teeth into because it's so short and sparse, but I can see why this is a really well-liked middle grade nonfiction series, and I can picture middle grade me adoring this. I can remember in 5th grade, I had a teacher who had a bookshelf in the back of her room, and we could borrow books off of it. She had a sheet that we would sign the books out on, and then when we were done, we could bring them back. And at least in my school at the time, 6th grade was also in that school, and 6th graders would be in and out of the room because they also knew about the bookcase. And my teacher was totally fine as long as the students were quiet and respectful if they came in and borrowed books, even though we were in the midst of class. So in 6th grade, I was also sneaking in to borrow books, though I think I mostly did it during math class because she taught 6th grade for a long time before she switched to 5th grade. So, and in my grammar school, I was switching classes for math because she taught 6th grade math and 5th grade everything else, and I had her for my 6th grade math, actually. So I usually grabbed books when I was in there already for math. And I can remember, obviously wasn't these, but there were biographies that were on there, and I remember being drawn to them. I loved biographies when I was in my later middle grade years, so like 10 to 12. That was really my thing. And I could see me loving something like this. I would have really, really enjoyed the series and learning about various people, though not all of the books in this series would have been applicable, because I think, like, there's one that's like, what is climate change? And I don't think that would have been out when I was in grammar school. Regardless, I can see young me really enjoying the series. So while it is not one that I'm going to reread, and it wasn't like the best biography I've ever read, I think this will be an amazing series to purchase for the little ones in my life, or if I find them in little free libraries like this one, read them and then pass them along, because it's written really well, in my opinion, for middle graders, and it has made me want to pick up another biography about P.T. Barnum that is made for a more adult audience, so I can learn more about him, because I'm intrigued. There were a lot of things I did not expect for the guy that I basically know as the person who owned the circus. There was a lot more to him than that, and yeah. The first thing on the back is, it says, who was P.T. Barnum, the mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut, one of the founders of the Barnum and Bailey Circus, an American showman who promoted the greatest show on earth. Or all of the above. And the check is for all of the above. So I got to learn he was the mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut, among other things, which was absolutely fascinating. So good series, definitely made for middle graders, not necessarily for adult audiences, but definitely one I can see me checking out to kind of get an idea of who these people were, to see if a more in-depth biography might be interesting, and just to check it out because, you know, the little ones are headed up that age, and I would love to inspire in them the same love for biographies that I had when I was their age. The only other update I have is that I've read a little bit more of The Shadow of What Was Lost. I turned it on while I was putting my books back on my shelf. I don't know exactly where I am, but I did listen to part of it because I needed an audiobook, and I wasn't going to start another whole audiobook when I'm less than 3 hours at the speed I'm listening away from finishing this one. So hopefully I'll be able to finish this soon. We'll see. But yeah, that's all the updates I have for now. I'm going to go back to reading because I want to read some more of, I think it's Positively Cursed, which is the second book in the, I think, Witches of Edge Hill. Not sure what the series called. It's an ebook series, so I don't actually have the book to hold up. But yeah, whatever series that is, I'm enjoying it and I want to get back to reading it. So I will check back in with you all soon. So it is almost 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, and I'm finally sitting down to check in. Originally, I thought I was going to be wrapping the vlog up tonight with only a second clip, but then I realized that Prissa's readathon starts Monday, so I'm just going to include Saturday and Sunday in this vlog too. It has been quite the week. I'm doing a bit of a reset on my eating. I tend to be a very anxious and emotional eater, and with my anxiety having been so high, I kind of backslid into some bad habits. And so I'm kind of doing like a hard reset, and I've cut out gluten, dairy, and for the most part, sugar. And it may not be for everybody, but it works really, really well for me to help me kind of reset and break the bad habits that I get into because I emotionally eat. But when I do a reset like that and I cut those things out, it can make me a little sleepy. I found your body goes through a lot when you kind of detox from certain things, at least in my experience, and I knew it was going to happen. I'm only doing it for the month of October, just long enough to kind of break that habit and allow me to eat in a less emotional way. So I've been very, very sleepy. And like I said, the first day, I literally tore my room apart. As you can see, there's furniture missing. And yeah, it's just been an interesting week. I had planned to film an update yesterday. And then we had another day of my neighbor playing music, which meant I couldn't film. I had wanted to get out my 5-star prediction round, like the next one. And I couldn't film that. And then I wanted to film my Wacky Witches TBR, which I didn't get to do, and I think I'm just going to start fresh with my top 5 for September, rather than going back to February, because it is getting overwhelming, and I keep not filming it because I have so many months to do. So I think I'm just going to start fresh, do September's top 5, and move on from there. I think that will definitely help. I've edited a little bit, but nothing that I can post. But I was doing that because I can do that when there's noise. It doesn't matter if they're blaring music or doing construction or whatever. I had hoped to film this clip earlier, but one of my neighbors was making a lot of noise, throwing things around or moving things around or picking things up. I have no idea. It's insanity. So I've read quite a bit. I believe I've read like another chapter or 2 of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I don't have a lot to say about it. I've got to stop reading it when I'm tired, because I'm listening to the audiobook while reading the ebook. And I wish I had the physical book, because I think I would be doing better. But the ebook makes my eyes very, very tired. And when I read it when I'm already tired, I end up shutting my eyes. And then the next thing you know, I'm dozing. I don't think that is a book problem. I think that is a me problem. I also made a little bit more progress on The Shadow of What Was Lost, but it is still not what I'm in the mood to read, so I'm struggling there. I managed to get the audiobook of Under the Whispering Door. This is a reread for me. I've been waiting for it to come in from the library for a while now, and I was finally next in line, so I snagged that, and I've started that. So I'm in the middle of those, plus I still have to finish The Harbinger, which is another ebook. I really, really struggle with ebooks. So I will say Kindle is better. I like the format on Kindle. I use the mint background, like the greeny one, and that one seems to bother my eyes less. The library does not have that option. I have a choice of white, black, or like a sepia tone, and none of them are great options. So I'm struggling with that. I really wish I had a physical copy of Jonathan Strange because I think I would get through it a lot faster, but oh well, what can you do? Also tonight I started Husband Material. I'm literally 2 chapters in, but I am very, very excited to have picked this up. I'm already really, really enjoying it, and I was surprised because I was not in the mood for romance when I pulled this on my TBR, and yet I'm actually really excited to be reading it, so that's quite surprising. Now, to the books I've actually finished. So first up, I finished Positively Cursed, which is the second book in the Witches of Edgehill. I think that might be the name of the series. In it, we're following a girl named Amber who has her own, like, shop where she sells tinctures, and I know she sells, like, hot chocolate, and she sells these toys. And in the first book, one of her friends ends up getting murdered and is holding a tincture bottle in her hand, which kind of frames Amber. In this one, a woman dies, and it looks like the murderer was after her aunt, and might be after her as well, so she's kind of got to piece that together because her life and the life of her loved ones are at risk. I'm giving this one 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed this. I really, really want to continue on with the series, but I also don't want to shell out for the ebooks. I am listening to the audiobook, so I may end up picking up the audiobook and not being able to read along, but I'm very much in a I want to physically read right now kind of thing, and not in a I want to sit and listen to an audiobook while I don't have a book in front of me. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm really, really enjoying this series, and I definitely will continue it at some point. Then, because I was still in a cozy mystery kind of mood, I picked up Murder Most Finicky, which is the 4th book in the Positively Organic Mystery series, and I think I'm going 3.75 stars on this one. It wasn't my favorite. In this one, we're following Stan, who moved to the small town of Frog Ledge and ended up kind of running her own organic pet food business, kind of out of her house. And I believe in the first book, she kind of left her high-profile life to move to this tiny town. In this one, she is at a, like, weekend getaway with this guy she's about to be in partnership with. And there's a bunch of other chefs there, and one of them ends up dead, and she's got to kind of get to the bottom of it. It wasn't my favorite, and I think that's because it was set outside of Frog Ledge. So a lot of the small town charm wasn't there. And a lot of the characters that we've grown to know and love in the series weren't there. So I didn't enjoy this one as much, but I do plan to continue on with the series. And I should be able to catch up on this one before the end of 2022, which means I would have at least one series that I caught up on that I wanted to catch up on. So thumbs up for that. And then, again, continuing the cozy mystery trend, I read In the Company of Witches, which I'm giving 3.5 stars. In this one, we're following Bryn, who lives in a bed and breakfast with her aunts and her uncle. And they're witches. And they only have one guest, and the guest ends up dead, and one of her aunts becomes the main suspect. Hello, Cielo. Come here. You gonna help me film? Okay. This one started off a little slow for me and took me a while to get into, and I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of Nora, who is one of Bryn's aunts. I think I do plan to continue on with the series, though, because I kind of like the way it wrapped up, and, like, by the end, I was more invested than I was in the beginning. So I'm willing to at least give it one more book in the series before I say I'm not going to read this, but it wasn't my favorite cozy mystery, but I did enjoy it. Then I switched gears and read some graphic novels. The first 2 were volumes 2 and 3 of The Backstagers. I'm giving both of these 3.5 stars. This follows a group of kids who works in the backstage crew of, like, their school's theater productions, and there is a door in there that leads to this, like, magical labyrinth. This was a continuation of volume 1, and then volume 2 is these mini stories that center around Halloween and Valentine's Day. And some of them I enjoyed more than others. I like this group of kids. It wasn't my favorite graphic novel series. This is all that there is of it. And yeah, I mean, if they released more... I have a helper. If they released more in the series, I would probably continue to read them. Because I like them enough to read them, but they're not something I could see myself rereading or wanting to own or anything like that. But yeah, and I like the art style as well. Let me see if I can find a good panel to show you that isn't super spoilery. Okay. I think the art style is cool. Like, totally down with the art style. So, yeah. I mean, it's not bad. And, again, it might be something that if you were more into the theater or worked in the drama club or something like that, it might appeal to you a little bit more than it did to me. And then, continuing the graphic novels trend, I read volumes 17, 18, 19, and 20 of Lumberjanes. I had to read the ebook for, I think it's volume 18? Yeah, volume 18, which was awful, let me tell you. It might not be so bad if I had an e-reader, but I literally read Kindle books on my phone. So I had to, like, tip it sideways, blow the panels up and zoom in so I could see, slide up, blow the panels out, and flip pages. It was not a fun time. So I believe I'm giving volume 17 4.25 stars, volume 18 5 stars, volume 19 4.5 stars, and volume 20 4.5 stars. Though without being able to look at volume 18, I might be confusing 17 and 18. I will let you know. I will pop something up on the screen because I literally am drawing a blank as to what 18 was even about without being able to quickly look at the cover and flip through it. So anyways, Lumberjanes is a graphic novel series that follows a group of girls who are at summer camp, and these volumes wrap up their summer. And I really, really enjoyed the way this ended. This is a series I want to own. It is one I want to reread at some point. I really grew attached to these girls over the course of the summer. Not to mention all of the other campers and people and magical beings and all of that we meet along the way, because there are fantastical twists to the story. I'm sad. I'm sad to be done. I'm going to miss spending time with the girls and seeing what new adventures they get up to at summer camp. And I'm really, really glad that I finished out the series, which means I can check a series off my series to continue list, which is always nice, and hope that maybe someday this is one that will get revisited and reopened, and I will have to add back to my series to continue list. But we'll see. And then the only other update I have is that last night I stayed up till ridiculous o'clock in the morning reading Aunt Dimity Beats the Devil. So I started this one at like 2 a.m. figuring I'd read a few chapters, and then I read the whole freaking thing. And I'm only giving it 3.5 stars because it wasn't my favorite one in the series. In this one, Lori is checking out a book collection for her former boss, Stan. She used to work with like Rare Books, and anytime Stan, her former boss, needs a collection checked out in England or in Europe or anything like that, he calls her. And he's doing it as a favor to an old friend whose niece got married and is living in this remote castle with her new husband. And she realizes very quickly that her job is twofold. It's to check out this collection and check on the niece. But once she gets there, she soon realizes there's a lot more going on than meets the eye and gets wrapped up in this very spooky mystery because apparently the castle is haunted and she kind of needs to get to the bottom of that. One of the things I will say that I didn't appreciate when I was younger, and I notice it now and I don't necessarily like it, is Lori, our main character, is in a relationship in all but the first book and then the second book, which is kind of a prequel, and she has a roving eye. And I don't know that I necessarily like that quality, and I didn't realize how prevalent it was until I started my reread. And that played into this one a little bit more than I would have liked, and I'm not sure I liked how it kind of played out. I don't know that I can say anymore without spoiling what was going on, but I don't like Lori as much on reread as I did the first time. And one of the fun things is the Aunt Dimity aspect, which I'm not going to explain. But there's a reason this series is the Aunt Dimity series. There's a reason all of the books are Aunt Dimity and the something something, or Aunt Dimity's something, or whatever. And I wanted more of that aspect, and I didn't get it in this one. So yeah, 3.5 stars. I'm 6 books in. There's 25 of them. I own probably another dozen. And if my reread continues on this way, I think I will unhaul them, because it might be something I want to reread, but it's not necessarily something I need to keep on my shelves. Because obviously, even a 3.5 star book at ridiculous o'clock in the morning, I was still up reading it. So that tells you something. I like the way it flows, I think, is the thing that keeps me sucked in. And I did like the mystery of this one. I just don't necessarily love Laurie as much as I did when I started reading the books, if that makes sense. But I also read them a long time ago. Like, this one was published in 2000. I would have been 13 when this was published, and I definitely wasn't reading it at 13. But I don't know that I would have been that much older. Like, I probably started the series when I was in my late teens, at the latest. Because I know that one of the first adult books I ever read was part of Along Came a Spider by James Patterson, and I was young. Because I can remember reading it at my mom's best friend's house. And this was before her husband died, because she moved after he died, and I know I read it at the house she lived in with her husband, and he died when I was 13. So by the time I was 13, I had read part of Along Came a Spider, and I don't think, much older than that when I read First to Die by James Patterson. So I went from reading, like, middle grade to reading adult murder mysteries. So this probably got picked up well before I was 18. And then I know at some point, I want to say in my early 20s, I went back to the YA section. Like, I completely skipped the YA section in my library. I went from being upstairs where the kids' books were to going into the room at the bottom of the stairs where the adult books were. I can't even tell you where the YA books were, because I think I had just gotten into them before they redid the library, and then everything moved around because my library got a big renovation at one point. So, like, I don't even know where the YA books were at that time. And I can tell you one of the first series I read as part of the YA section that I, like, purposely went over there and sought out was the Pendragon books. But yeah, I completely skipped over that. So, like, I can totally understand why, like, some of the issues I'm having with this series as a 35-year-old, I wouldn't have necessarily had when I was, like, 16, 17 years old. So I am enjoying my reread. I haven't found anything that's, like, completely offensive like I did with, what was it? The Murder, She Baked series by Joanne Fluke, and it's like the Coffee House Mysteries by, I want to say, Cleo Coyle. I read a couple of Cozy Mystery series that I had a bunch of books from, and I found some problematic stuff in that just turned me off to the series and made me unhaul them. I haven't found anything completely objectionable like that, and I do check the reviews because I know sometimes stuff goes over my head. So, yeah, there doesn't seem to have been anything. So, yeah, so far so good on that front, but I definitely don't seem to be loving the series as much as I did when I was younger, which, again, you grow and you change as a person, and even if this was the most brilliant cozy mystery series ever written, that doesn't necessarily mean it would jive with me. Like, I know that I loved Nora Roberts books at one point, and James Patterson books at one point, and I do not love them, like, anywhere near as much now because my reading tastes have changed. I want something more out of my books. I want something different. I've read other authors. Like, I love, you know, graphic novels and middle grade books and romances with, you know, more diversity than I would get in a Nora Roberts book. And yeah, just a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have picked up when I was a teenager and then in my early 20s. Because it was in my early 20s that I started to go to college, and then I stopped reading for fun. Or if I was reading for fun, I was reading fanfic and diving into worlds that I already knew and loved, because it was easier and took less brain power to read even a really, really long fanfic that's like over 500,000 words in a world that I already knew and loved and was familiar with the characters and didn't need to paint that word picture, than to pick up something like The Shadow of What Was Lost or The Rune of Kings, or even like Keeper of the Lost Cities or Nevermore and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm definitely a completely different reader in my 30s than I was in my early 20s. So yeah, I'm still enjoying the reread though. And it'll tell me whether I can clear up some shelf space, and hopefully I will be able to figure out that soon. Oh, one more book I read. I read Shelby and Watts, The Pool Troubles. And this is a super, super cute graphic novel series that follows Shelby and Watts. And they're essentially Sherlock and Watson. And this is written for like early middle graders. And it has some conservation facts. Like there's a bit at the end that talks about earth saving tips from Shelby and Watts. And they are looking at the beach for where all the shells have disappeared because Fred, the hermit crab, needs a bigger shell to grow into. And there's fun facts about beaches and animals that you might find at the beach, and just a lot of really good information in here that teaches a lesson and helps make younger kids more conscientious about the world around them, while also giving them a fun graphic novel to read. Because, like, I mean, look at that. Look how cute. So I think I'm going probably like 4 stars, because again, I'm not the target age range. But like, if you want to talk about would I recommend this for middle graders, absolutely. I am planning on looking into it because I want to get it for the little ones in my life. Because one, I want them to know that I think graphic novels are absolutely a form of reading, and foster their love in that and show them that there's tons of different ways that they can read. They don't necessarily have to read like chapter books. I know this is an adult book, but they don't have to read books with no pictures once they get older. And I mean, I've read a lot of middle grades that have illustrations, but like this is reading too, and it teaches them something. So I really, really like this. And if you have little ones in your life, whether they're your own or not, I would highly recommend this, as I thought it was really, really cute and informative. And yeah, so that is all my reading update. This is an exceptionally long clip, so I'm going to wrap this up so that I can go read. I am probably not going to check in until Sunday. Let's be real now. We all know how I work, but it's been rough. Very, very rough. Like, my mental health the last few months has been crazy, and I've had all these ups and downs, and then I just slammed myself in September, and I've been trying to recover. Because I just did a lot of reading and felt very, very overwhelmed. And I have a lot of books I want to get to in October, and most of them are not on my TBR. Because as you've seen, if you watched my TBR video, I had a very small TBR when it comes to required reads. And I just want to read all the things. I'm in the mood where I just want to read everything. I have all of these books and I want to read all of them. And while that's not possible, I'm not going to read 500 books a month. So yeah, I'm trying to pace myself. It's not exactly working, and we'll see. We'll see. I ended up doing a readathon, but I don't think I had to add much to my TBR for Wacky Witches. It was already books for the most part that I was planning to get to anyways. I think I had to add one, which would be the 3rd book in the Wonderland series that I've been reading. Which is fine, because I had kind of hoped to get to that, and it'll be a really quick audiobook, and then I can wrap that trilogy up. So, no biggie there. But yeah, I'm gonna go read and curl up with this little girl here. She's so cute. Say hi, Beans. Say hi. Go. She's not happy I stopped patting her. So yeah, I'm going to go read, and I will check back in with you all Sunday. Well, early Monday morning, but I will check back in with you at the end of this vlog. So it is early Monday morning, and it is time to wrap this vlog up, as it is time for me to switch modes and get into my Wacky Witches readathon TBR. And right on cue for the Wacky Witches TBR, I have my black cat. Oh, okay. You've completely made me lose my train of thought. I hope you're happy. So yeah, the Wacky Witches. I am very excited to be participating in that and to read my TBR for that. But first, I need to talk about what I read in the last 2 days. So I read a little bit more of Under the Whispering Door. It's a reread. I am really, really enjoying the audiobook because I got the audiobook this time. That's why I'm rereading it now, because I wanted to listen to the audiobook, and I can handle audiobooks if I've already read them. I'm struggling, again, with listening to audiobooks without having a physical book in front of me. Not because I'm not taking it in, because I just don't want to. I want to sit down and physically read, but I also want to have an audiobook. So this one's fine, though, because the whole point is I wanted to experience the audiobook. So I'm really enjoying that. The only other book I've read is Husband Material. And I am legit this close to being done. I'm on page 396 and it's 4:16. And I had to stop because it was midnight and I had stuff that I had to do. So the very first thing I will be doing in next week's vlog is finishing this. I have loved this. I forgot how much I loved Oliver and Luke and getting to know them and seeing their antics. And okay. I should have known when I turned the ambiance on that she was going to come in because she thinks it might be birds. So yeah, I'm really, really loving this. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do 4.5 stars. I think it's missing that thing that would make it 5, but I'm really, really loving this. And apparently my brain is just all about reading the cozy mysteries and the romance. Not what I would have expected. It's going to make my Wacky Witches TBR very interesting, to say the least, because I have some stuff on there that is neither of those. And it's going to make it hard for me to finish my October TBR if the only books I want to read are books that are not on my October TBR, because, well, I only put so many cozy mysteries and romances on there. This was legitimately the only romance, because I don't normally gravitate towards them, but I am absolutely loving my read of this. It has cracked me up so many times. I had forgotten how much I loved boyfriend material. So I'm actually really, really glad that this came out of my TBR jar, and I believe there might even be another book that's going to be in this series. So hopefully I will read that one a little bit faster than I read this one, like when it comes to release date versus when I actually pick it up. And I do so because I chose to and not because I pulled it out of my TBR jar. But my TBR jar has been giving me some really great reads and reminding me of series that I had forgotten existed. So thumbs up for that. But that is literally the only thing I've read. I have literally spent most of my weekend trying to find time to film, and it just has not worked. It has been a struggle to find time, especially with all of the noise. My neighbors have decided to be as noisy as possible and play music very, very loudly, and I don't want to get a copyright strike because I decided to film while they were playing their music. Then they stopped, and I was just about to sit down and film, and my dad decided he was going to blow leaves right outside my bedroom. So that wasn't going to work. Then for a while yesterday, I was upset because one of my outdoor cats brought me a present, and it was one of my chipmunks, so I was not very happy with that. I get that, like, he was trying to provide for his pack, and I'm part of his pack, but did it have to be one of my chipmunks? So I was very, very sad and upset about that, and I don't know which one, because I have a few that we keep an eye on, and it's been a bit nippy, so we haven't really seen them. So we don't know if it's ours or if it's the one that lives across the street. That is my neck child. She is legitimately giving me nibbles. I'm not food. So yeah, it could be the one across the street. It could be my neighbor over here because he likes to watch their chipmunks. It could be one of our 3 chipmunks. I don't know. So hopefully I will see R3 and it won't be the 3 I've grown attached to and have been feeding, but who knows. But it has made it very hard to read when I was trying to focus on filming, and well, that just wasn't happening. Not with all the noise. But I did finally manage to film my Wacky Witches TBR today. I wanted it to go out tonight. I just ran out of time, so it'll be going up tomorrow. And then I filmed my next round of 5-star predictions, which will be going out on Friday. If I can find time to edit, because that's the other thing. I have all these videos filmed, but I don't have anything edited. I've got, this is vlog 50. I'm on vlog 46, which is partially edited. And I have my summer covers video I need to edit, my 5-star prediction vlog that I was working on that I need to edit. And I have an unhaul that I filmed that I need to edit. So I gotta try to find time to fit that in this week too. We'll see how it goes. And for this week, I want to film my haul for the last 3 months, and then I've decided to do my top 5 and just start in September because it was getting overwhelming. And yeah, so if I could find time to film my haul and my top 5 for September this week, that would be great, but we'll see. Anyways, I'm gonna go. because somebody wants attention and is now chewing on my shirt. I don't know if she wants lovin's or she wants to play, but I can't do that in film, so I'm gonna go. And yeah, I just realized this is the end of the vlog. I need to wrap this up. So yeah, this is the end of the vlog. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me kitty emojis for this little miss who is feeling very frisky. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!